So in this video, I want to go over one of the ways to change your layout and make elements in your text layout properly and evenly distributed. So I want to direct your attention to this Stack Overflow question, and we'll kind of go from there. I'll put the link for this question in the description below. So the guy was asking, is it possible to evenly distribute buttons across the width of an Android linear layout? And he has a linear layout here. He has 1, 2, 3 buttons, and he basically wants those buttons evenly distributed horizontally. And the answer that he's given, which is accepted, is to set the layout width to 0 dp and set the layout width and the layout weight for each of the buttons to 1. So I wanted to kind of better demonstrate what that actually looks like so it becomes a little bit more clear. Here, actually, before I do that, let me just go to this article here on linear layout. I'm going to put the link for this as well. They talk about it right over here. So to create a linear layout in which each child uses the same amount of space on the screen, set the layout height of each to 0 dp for vertical, or the layout width of each view to 0 dp for a horizontal layout. Then set the layout weight of each view to 1. So I just want to kind of show you what that looks like, and I'm going to use this special tool here. This is like a visualization tool, and it's not part of Android Studio. It's a standalone web app, but it basically simulates what your layout is going to look like in your Android app. So for the purposes of our example, I just made four text views inside this linear layout, and it's just in our example, it's just places to visit. So as you can see, I have the first text view here. I made them all different colors so it's easier to see how they're laid out. And then here's the second text view, the third, and the fourth. So what we want is we want each of these. Right now they're right underneath each other, and if we have a big device like a tablet, for instance, or a big phone, it's going to look very weird if they're all scrunched up in the top left corner. So we wanted to kind of space them out evenly across the screen, no matter how big or small the screen is. So what we're going to do first is, first of all, we're going to make the widths take up the whole width of the screen, because right now they're set to wrap content, and what we're going to do is we're going to make them match the parent. So at least that'll make it look a little bit better. Okay, and the fourth one. So now what we want to do is we want to evenly space them out, but vertically. Okay, in our case it's vertical. So the first thing that we're going to do is, so right here, if we look at the height is set to wrap content. But according to that article, they were saying, if we go back to that article, he was saying, set layout width to 0 and set the layout weight for each of the buttons to 1. So in our case, it's the layout height we're going to set to 0 because we're doing a vertical layout. So we're going to set the layout height to 0. So, and right now it doesn't look like anything changed. So then here we're doing it for the second one. Now we're going to do it for the third one. Now we're doing it for the last text view. Okay, so now all the text view heights are 0. And the next thing that we're going to do is, if we go back to the article, they were saying set the layout weight of each of the buttons to 1. So if we go back, and let's do it here. So we'll do Android layout weight. Okay, so now see how we set it to 1, and it basically pushed all the other ones down. So this right now, the first text view is the only one that has a weight of 1, so it's sort of the most important one. What we're going to do is we're going to copy that attribute to the other text views, and we're going to see how that distributes the text views. There. So now that all 4 have a layout weight of 1, now they're all evenly spaced out. And what we can do is we could even play with this, and for instance, if we made the last one 2, so you see how the last one now takes up more space. And the reason why that happens is because it adds them all up. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 5, and then this takes up 2/5 of the vertical space, and the other 3 take up 1/5 each. So if we were to set this to, let's say, 3, it would keep taking up more and more space. So in our case, if we just leave it as 1, that way they all take up 1/4 of the screen. And the cool thing is that even if we add another text view, so for instance, like let's say we add, let's say, here, let me paste this in here. So let's say we added a new one. Let's call this, let's say that, and let's just change the background color, let's say to that. Okay, and see, so now even though, see how everything remained evenly distributed because all the weights are 1. So that's the kind of the flexibility of this, and it won't matter what device you're on, they will all get evenly distributed vertically. And you could do the exact same thing horizontally, except in horizontally you would set the layout width to 0, and then the weight would work the exact same way.